Well, we're back. Part 2 of this '06 cursed Dyna that you and I are going to finish uncursing today. So welcome back to Butler Customs Motorcycle Shop. Okay, so I do have some updates about this bike. Some you're really going to like. The first update is I got a little bit of history on this bike. The customer bought this bike, I think, from a Kawasaki dealership. They had it in, they had it on sale. He got it, he snatched it up for about half the price of what they were asking for. So that's a pretty good deal. But it came with some issues. It was kind of as is. Now, the bike only has 3,000 miles on it. And as far as I can see, it's quite bone stock. The only thing I can tell is different is the grips are not stock. And these quick detach backrest is not stock either. Besides that, everything is stock on this bike. So they bought it. He tried to, I think, ride it to work. Started leaking gas. It started having these running issues. So he put it up. Took it to a place. I think they kept it for a couple years. Was supposed to fix the tank. Well, as you saw in the last video, if you watched it, they indeed did not fix the tank. So we've got the tank squared away. We filled in all the holes of the tank, 14 in total, I believe. But as an extra layer of precaution, we're going to line it just in case one of those solder welds just kind of lets loose on us or something like that. So we will be doing that today. Now, another update on this bike is the customer brought the title up and said, I want to sell this bike. Once you get it roadworthy and ready to ride, I want to sell it. So this bike will be for sale here in this shop. So if you've ever wanted an '06 Dyna with 3,000 miles on it, bone stock, this is your chance to own one. Now, the Dynas, the '06 Dynas, was the first year that Harley put the upgraded hydraulic cam chain tensioners in the motors. So this has the hydraulic cam chain tensioner. Also, it was the first year of the 6-speed. So this is a 6-speed Dyna. Really nice bike. Since it's only got 3,000 miles, I'm not going to open up the cam chest. I'm not going to inspect the tensioners, none of that kind of stuff. Also, you'll notice on the primary, there's no inspection cover for the primary chain. That's because this bike has an automatic chain tensioner. That means there's a little spring in there that automatically keeps tension on that chain. So you can't really inspect the chain unless you pull the whole primary cover off. Since this bike only has 3,000 miles, I'm just not going to worry about that. We will change the fluid in it. I will drive it. If the clutch doesn't feel right, then we'll pull the primary cover off and inspect everything in that. So today, we've got a lot to do. We've got to seal that tank, and we've got to change the fork seals. We've got to put on all the new parts that we got. I did not go back with a digital fuel gauge. I went back with the stock looking fuel gauge from Drag Specialties. We got the seals in for the forks. We've got the odometer, a new odometer we're going to wire in for that. Super simple to do. I'll show you that. We got to line the tank. We got to put all the guts back in the tank, change the plugs, change the filter, change the fluids. Then put some gas in it and fire it up. Now remember, it had one code in it for an open circuit on the rear O2 sensor. So I have the connector right here. I've checked it. It looks good. It does have aftermarket Vance and Hine pipe. So I guess that's an upgrade as well. That's not stock. And I'm wondering, we probably need to pull this off, see if there's a tuner in there, but I don't think there's a tuner added to this. So that might just be part of the beast where due to a lack of tuning, the O2 sensors are just not reading properly. And it does have, there's no baffles in these. I believe they're just straight piped. So that could be an issue. But we can maybe even try those torque cone adapters to put in there at the headers. That might help with that code. But the code was a history code, so I don't even know if it's going to be an issue for us. But let's get to working on the tank. It's a little chilly this morning, so I'll put the tank sealer up here in the dash of the truck. Now it's nice and warm. Okay, this is a new sealer. I've never used this before. Pour 15. A lot of folks have said, hey, you always use red coat. What about Pour 15? And I've always said, well, I don't know nothing about it. Never used it. So we're going to use this instead of the red coat, and here's why. So because we repaired all the holes in the tank, I'm going to use a sealer just as an extra layer of precaution. That way, in case there were some future holes that were kind of hidden by the paint, this should protect that. And also it'll cover up, the repairs that we made. So it's a good idea if you do have holes that are so big that you have to solder them and seal them, just go ahead and line it, just, as an extra way. Because what you got to understand is when that tank is mounted to that frame, it's going to vibrate. And over time, those solders might get a little loose. They might start weeping or something like that. So I don't want that happening down the road to whoever gets this bike. So I thought, well, this would be a good time to try this out because I've never used it before. But I will tell you, I've got the specs pulled up on this. I already don't like it. And I'm going to show you some reasons why I don't. Here's some ways. I've also got my red coat fuel tank liner pulled up here. Now let's start over here. So on the red coat, as far as directions, let's get down here. Of course, you prep the tank, clean it out, all that we did. Make sure the tank's dry, yes. And it even says on the red coat, soldering is the method usually used to repair leaks. Never use a torch or a fuel tank unless you want to blow up or have been properly trained. Air dry for 8 to 24 hours. When cured, the way you know that red coat is cured, there'll be no more smell left in the tank. And that smell, when I opened up my first ever can of red coat, I was like, I have smelt this smell before as a kid. I asked a question on the video and somebody commented in the video what it was. I'll put a picture up here for you. Super elastic bubble plastic. Remember that? This red coat smells just like that stuff. And it was back in the 70s and early 80s. And then I guess parents figured out, hey, kids inhaling that stuff is probably not good. And it kind of disappeared. Well, guess what showed up in 1985? Huh. Coincidence? I don't know, but it smells exactly like the same thing. The red coat, the way you know it's dry is that smell won't be anymore in the tank, and it takes 8 to 24 hours. Hop over here, if you look at the Pour 15, it says down here, allow a drying time of 96 hours. That's what's that, like 40 days? 96 hours for drying time. That is crazy. Now the good thing about the red coat is that when you drain the tank, you can put it back in the can and reuse it. On the Pour 15, it tells you do not reuse sealer. So you can't reuse it. It's a kind of a one and done deal. So already I'm liking the red coat better. Also, the red coat is red. So you can, and they even tell you, you can watch it covering everything so you can tell what's covered. The Pour 15, I believe, is like a gray or a silver, and the inside of the tank, is a silver color. So it might be hard to see what's covered and what's not. I'm going to go ahead and coat it so that over the weekend it can be drying. But again, this is a secondary kind of coat, you know. We'll see how it goes. But I see now why the red coat is 3 times the price of this Pour 15. But I've had a lot of people say that this does a good job. But this red coat, I mean, it's been around for years and years and years. And they even tell you on here, with over 1 million vehicle tanks lined since 1985, we've seen less than 200 problems. All were application errors as described above. We have not yet seen failure due to aging. Both the above conditions are easily prevented by proper drying. So I've just always trusted this, but I thought, well, let's just try something different and see how it works. So let's pour it in. Okay, we're ready to pour the sealer in, and if you can kind of see by the light down at the bottom of that tank, it's not that it's bad. It's just on this side, there were some spots that just failed. So this is actually just going to be just an extra layer of protection. You're like, what's these wires? Well, what I do when I don't want those crossover tubes clogging up, I'll find some wire that fits snug down in there, and I can push it on through until they come out of my holes. And so that'll keep those holes open. We'll stop them from clogging up. Now, if you notice here, I've still got the quick release in here, and this is the old one. So if you didn't have the old one, you'd want to tape this up. Then when I'm ready to drain, I'll just undo this and pull this out, and then all the stuff can drain out. We'll drain it outside, but I'm hoping these wires have plugged up these crossovers. And so we're just ready now to pour this Pour 15, pour the pour in, and I'll take these wires. Hey, here's an idea. I left them a little long so I could just kind of yank on them back and forth to pull them on out. So I took the lid off this Pour 15. This is what it looks like. It does not smell like red coat at all. It smells like gas mixed with turpentine. So I don't think I need a funnel. I think I just need to pour the whole pint. Since we're not reusing this, we'll just throw it away. What's all that at the bottom? I don't know. This doesn't look promising, guys. It's weird looking. Now, I'm not going to slosh this around. Of course, I've got the top off. I'm just going to move it around just to make sure this gets around everywhere that I want it to get to coat everything. Now, it's got this big kind of crossover here that I need to get it in over here on this side. And I can see it coating really well as I move this around. Okay, by looking at this stuff, I'll tell you right now, I don't like it. Coat up in here and over here as well. Now I'm going to take it outside, take that quick release out, and try to drain all this out. And let it drain, it said, for 30 minutes. With the red coat, you can absolutely tell what's covered and what's not. With a silver tank on the inside and this stuff being silvered, you really can't see it that much. Okay, so while we're waiting for the tank sealer to dry, and I tell you, I do not like that tank sealer. It was really oily, and it looked like that stuff you pour in like a coolant, like that stop leak that you pour in the radiator to, a real like metally flake kind of look. I'm just going to stick with the red coat. I'm not sponsored by them or anything, but comparing those two, personally, I'd just go with red coat if it was me. So anyways, while that's drying, let's work on the bike a little bit. I decided to take the air filter off. This is a stock air filter, of course. It's only got 3,000 miles on it. But it's time for one. It's time for one. So I just happened to have one in stock, hanging on the shelf. Had to get a dirt dauber off of it, but besides that, it's good. So this is a lot better shape. But before we slap that on, I want to clean out this throttle body because it is looking It's looking pretty bad up in there. And it's got a little port right here, a little rubber knob you can take off, squirt down in there so you're not blowing stuff way back in there. And that helps to kind of clean all this out. We'll stick some rags down here, some shop towels. I don't like to use brake clean on throttle bodies. I like to use carb clean. And then you want to be careful when you're spraying any kind of cleaner on this. If it gets down here on this crinkle paint, it will peel that right up. So please, please be careful. If you care about that, you might have yours already peeled anyway from a gas leak. So it really might not even matter. But I want to pull this cap off here. Just wiggle, try to save on it. Wiggle that up and off. And with that cap off, you can actually squirt right down in there with your nozzle. And it come out there. It felt like it was kind of clogged. Now with the throttle shut, I'm going to spray that off up in there and then try to get my mitts back in there. Now I can open the throttle, kind of get back in there a little bit. So that looks a whole lot better to me. Yeah, really feels a lot better too. Good deal. Now hopefully we don't have to be pulling this throttle body off. It's not like the M&M, the Moretti Moretti, my Ferrari or whatever. Hopefully it's nothing like that. Or it's upgraded from that, so it's a lot more complicated. But parts are actually easier to find. We'll check all of our connectors up here since the tank's off. All right, they're nice. They feel good. All my other connectors feel plugged in. And then you have a big old connector, throttle position sensor connector. You definitely want to make sure that dude is plugged in and plugged in well. It is right down here. And so many times where people pressure wash their bikes, this will get water in it, or the little connector will separate and it'll lose connection, and that'll make your bike drive haywire. And limp mode, all kinds of things. Now I don't think this year model has limp mode, so that's kind of a good thing for us. Now I did do a how-to on fork seals, and it was on a Dyna, so it's kind of the same thing. I won't be redundant with that. Maybe I'll still shoot video and just kind of speed it up, put some bluegrass behind it, let you enjoy it. But hopefully now, this is done and just ready to go back on. Let me get my blue Loctite to put our filter back on. And when I pulled the old filter off, this came off with the nut still in it. So I'm hoping it wasn't cross-threaded. It looks like it has some Harley Davidson Loctite on it. Well, let me get a 1/2 inch to run that back in snug, because all these are snug, but this one's not. Then we can glue our filter back on and we're good. And I want to be very careful with screwing anything into these throttle bodies. Do not go too tight on these, okay? Just one hand, 1/4 inch up here at the top, snug. That's all you want. I have seen these throttle bodies crack where people have put them in too hard, and that's no good. I'll be so glad when I can shed these coveralls for the year. I don't know what the weather's like where you're at, but it was hot on us and it turned cold quick. Ooh-wee. Well, it don't look like it's lined up with a hole, does it? Well, that is not. I got the wrong filter? Yeah, wrong filter. Well, we'll have to go to Harley and get us one of those. So that puts a hold on that right there. But we got a lot more to do anyways. I can run the Harley over the weekend and get the proper filter, because I'm not going to go back with that, guys. That's for 3,000 miles. I'm actually surprised it looks that bad. So I'm wondering if there is some crankshaft position sensor issue or something with the spark going on with this bike. Is that why it's cursed, besides the drill holes in the gas tank? And it looks like it has dried up and has sealed good. Now, I did make an error. I should not have opened the can. I shook the can a little, opened it, and then poured it in. I shouldn't have done that. When I emptied the can out, the bottom of the can had a lot more thicker stuff than the top. So I knew, uh-oh, this ain't right. The reason for that is you are supposed to stir it like paint, and I didn't do that. The reason that I didn't think about that is that red coat, they tell you don't shake the can up, don't stir the can, don't put air bubbles in it, just pour it in. And I'm so used to using red coat, I didn't even think about stirring up the pour 15. So don't do what I did. If you're going to use the pour 15, you have to stir it really well, shake it really well, and get all that thickness at the bottom mixed in with the thinness at the top. But again, this is just a precaution, and it is covered. It is nice and smooth. It looks like it laid well down inside there. So now we're ready to go ahead and put the guts back inside the tank. So I got the tank set back on. I've got my connector that goes into here, my vent tube, and then I've got 1, 2, 3 connectors for my console. And then we also have to repair these wires right here. So I did order a new tripometer button, odometer button. You can find these online pretty cheap. I put all the guts back in the tank, put this back on with the seal. When you go to hook a fuel line up, take your little WD-40 PB blaster on your finger and kind of lube up that fuel line that snaps up in there. Because those O-rings are small and they're delicate, and if they're dry and go in dry, they could, even a brand new one, mess up on you. You won't know till you hit the power and it's got gas in it and the pump pushes it. So if you're hearing all that squeaking going on, we had a bad storm last week. All that snuffleupagus stuff that goes, underneath your gutters, that blew off. And buddy, when that blew off, all that storm and that wind from that storm blew in on top of the shop and created pressure. And all that pressure had to go somewhere, and it went by blowing out a large portion of my brand new ceiling that I put in. That's not good. So if you hear the squeaking going on, that's what it is. It's that foam that's still hanging, squeaking. Now you could use a soldering iron, but I love using these that have the solder in them. They're so easy. It's got the heat shrink already in it. You really don't have to do really anything else than this. Now I can take some heat shrink and push back here, and then once this is on, then run it over. But since it's just a tripometer thing, I'm not going to mess with it. So if you're saying, hey man, where do you get, those kind of things? What brand are they? How much are they? Now that we've hit 5,000 subscribers, I am now an Amazon influencer. Ooh, fancy word. To basically mean I have an Amazon store now. So on my Amazon store, there's a link to it down in the description of this video and hopefully all future videos. And you can just go down there and look in that link. And I got 2 categories so far since I just started it. I have all the tools down there that I use. So things like these solders, you can go to my Amazon store page and click and go right to those, and they're the exact same solders that I use here in the shop. Also, my tools, some specialty tools that I have that I ordered from Amazon, they're on there as well. And I have a section of my YouTube videos. What do I use filming and production and editing and things like that? When I first started my YouTube channel, I really wanted to learn from, the big guys. And I had trouble getting in contact with them because they're big guys, and finding out what do I need, what's best for me, because I'm not just doing podcasts or things like that. So it was difficult finding that. So I wanted to help, somebody else out down the road And I have a tab that's got all the stuff that I use for YouTube, my cameras, my lights, my equipment, my SD cards, my computer, things like that. So you can check that out too. And you know, anything you buy on there, Amazon sends me some pennies, so that's kind of nice. All right, let me grab a torch and we'll heat that up. Now you'll notice when you get this connector that they're both black wires, and what they connect to are both black wires. It doesn't matter which way you orient it. That's why they're the same color. All right, so let me... That's all there is to it. Now, if it was something, you know, electronical, something with a lot of power going through it, you'd want to heat shrink over that as well, but we don't have to since it's just this. It's basically just like a grounding out of the odometer that trips it and sends you through all the codes and odometer, your tripometer, things like that. Here's our console here. It'll have 3 connectors. This is your main power. This is your lights for your oil pressure, neutral light, turn signals, high-low beam light, and then your speedometer. You can't get them mixed up. They're kind of, you know, they only go on one connector in one way. When you do put them on, now just be aware, especially hooking into here that I've already hooked up, but just look at the pins, make sure they're nice and clean. Make sure there's really no issues with the pins. Look up in the other one. The speedometer pins are very thin and can be very finicky, and they don't leave you much room at all to hook that back up. But the connector itself only goes in one way. So if you put it in and it's not fully seating, flip it over. Make sure they're both connected up there. Then we can go ahead and connect this one. Again, it only goes in one way. I don't like, if you're going to use this painter's tape to label things, take it off, man. Don't be lazy, take it off. Now our main power, again, it as well only goes on one way. And then our odometer, and now these are all plastic, so you know, definitely don't put a wrench on this or nothing like that. You just want it snug. Test it out, and that's good to go. Now all of this is ready to just go back down and seat down just like that. All right, 3/16 on these. You know what I forgot? Dadgummit. I forgot the little rubber piece that goes up under there, kind of like a little weather seal. Why didn't you say something? Y'all got to help me out, all right? That's what you're here for, right? Oh, no? Okay. Okay. Now, when we turn this on, we should hear our pump run. We should see lights up here. We should see our odometer come to life. Oh, well, that scared me. My run switch is off. There we go. Of course, our fuel light's on. Check engine light come on, went off. Oil pressure light is on. Turn light works. Turn light works. High-low beam light works. Okay. Of course, our fuel light is on because we don't have that hooked up. But now the run switch is on. Our main ignition switch is off. I'm going to hold in the odometer button. I'm going to turn this on. And then it's going to go into a diag. Huh. Okay, that is not working. I know it did work. Okay, it's not going into diag, and it's not switching. Did we get a bad switch? Huh. Well, that ain't good. Okay. Well, what's going on? Did we get a bad switch? You know, I didn't test the switch out of the box or out of the package. Maybe we should have. I felt the button compressing. Okay, now it's lighting up like it's working. Okay, now it's going into diag. Yeah, okay, so now it's working. What in the world? I'm going through all my diags, checking for codes. Okay, I've got a code there, a B1004. Has 3,794 miles on it. Wow, that's crazy. It's almost brand new. Okay, now it's working. So that is really, really weird. Remember, it was a cursed bike. Okay, maybe I just didn't have the button on good. It's working fine now. We tighten this back down, and if it don't work, then I know something is, in that harness there we need to address in the harness. And we got plenty of wire to work with, so that's good. Now it's not working. Because even with the ignition off, when you push the button, it'll light up the odometer reading. That way, if somebody says, ain't no way that's just got 3,000 miles on it, you can push the button and yep, there it is. Okay, now the button's working. This is indeed cursed, is it not? Ah, found it. Okay, words of caution. Put the wire up behind where the bolt goes through, because when I would tighten the bolt down, it was smashing the wire. I don't think I damaged the wire because it works now. Okay, so the switch is good. I did not have this pushed in up here behind where the bolt would not hit it. Maybe that's why they make them so short. I don't know. Look, I do this stuff so that you'll be successful and not be like me. Good grief. Of all things. Now that side's come out. So I was pinching that wire. Luckily, I didn't pinch the wire in two, so that's good. Look, you can't be frustrated when you're working on a cursed bike. You're trying to uncurse it. So that takes, some working out here. Okay. Yes, okay, we still got it. The wires should be out of the way now. Yes, okay. Good, good, good. There's probably some of you sitting there saying, you're pinching that wire, dude. The new fuel gauge that you get from Drag Specialties, you're going to notice that it does not come with the connectors. It just comes with the exposed wires, and they have soldered them. Now, you could cut the connector on the frame side and just hardwire it, but if you ever have any issues with the fuel gauge again, then you're going to have to pull the tank and cut it. We already removed this connector from this old one. There's the glass come off. I was just trying to see if I could save on it, but it is indeed shot. So what you're going to have to do is either go to Harley and buy a set of these pins, which I thought I had some, and I looked in my drawer and I'm out. I've got the round ones, Deutsch connectors. I don't know what they're called, but I do not have any more of these. I call them needle pin connectors. So we're going to cut these 3 wires. I'm going to leave quite a bit of room. I'm going to cut the tips of these off that are soldered because I don't want to use that. And then I'm going to put my solder heat shrinks on, and I will be wrapping them or heat shrinking back over that individually, because on your fuel gauge you have a ground, you have a orange that is hot, and you have a yellow that is your trigger wire. And so I don't want these touching in the solder if they rub together through vibration. So I will solder them and then heat shrink over them individually, then take a big heat shrink, start back here, and heat shrink all the way up there. So that's my plans, if we have a plan. So let me go ahead and snip all of these off. Get rid of that thing. Don't need that anymore. Then on these, it's hard to wrap wire around something that's already solder on it. So I'll just snip all of these off and start fresh. Luckily, when you run these through, they give you plenty of wire to work with. So, you're good in that end. If you get this too hot, it can blow out the plastic or the rubber that's over this and bubble out the solder. And then whatever that touches since that's hot, will ground out and be bad. So because that's a hot, I do want to protect it a little bit more, and we'll throw another heat shrink over that. I got the two done. We'll do this last one together just in case you've always wondered about this. Now, if I was soldering this with a soldering iron, I wouldn't cut such a long strand off. But with these, I want a long strand on both sides, and I'll show you why. Now, on these solders, you'll have a small end and a big end. So what you want to do is take the small end first. And if it fits on the wire, then you know it'll fit on the big end. So you run that back there. And the reason you want these long is I like to go about halfway, make an X, and then I'm going to cross them over on this side and wrap them around on the other side. What I'm wanting is not a big knot, but I'm wanting just the size of the wire to be in that. That way when I run the big end back over, it doesn't, and I twist and it doesn't hang on anything. And I'm going to get that solder right in the middle of that and heat this up and twist. I try to apply even amounts of heat all the way around till I see that solder melt. That's what I'm looking for. Once that solder melts, it's done. Now we'll take our cover. This is just a ground, but since we covered the other two, we'll cover that. Now be careful pulling on the wire until that solder gets cold and is set. So when you do these types of solders and you set your torch down, don't yank on it to see if it's tight. They will come out. So once these are dried, they're not going anywhere. That's probably the strongest part of the wire right there. Snap that back down to hold those pins in. All right, you might have to put you a pick or a blade in there to kind of line your pins back up. Very good. Up out of the way there. All right, that should be good. Now, before we drop it down and put the fuel in, I do want to go ahead and change these plugs since they're right up here in my teeth. I did order a battery cover and I ordered an air filter because that's a big sucker air filter, not a stock one. Since they did the pipes, they did upgrade the air filter, but I wonder if it's got a tuner on it. The battery cover that I bought also comes with this side cover, so we'll take the side cover off, check our fuses, but also see if there's a tuner on this. So there was that difference there in the color. This looks really good. This looks a little dark. We'll see what's going on with there. We got our new plugs. I went with Champions, not the Iridiums. And then we will gap these and throw these in. It's always important to check your gap. New plugs out of the box. These were gapped at 25. The manual says 0.38 to 0.40. So I went with 40 since we've got a big sucker air filter on and pipes. Those Iridiums, they are really hard to gap. So I'm sure by looking at the rear plug, they had running issues. So they tried the Iridiums. Most people don't gap those, and if you do, you tear up that little tip at the end. I like Champions and Harleys. I always have. It's what I run in Lucy, my panhead. If I had a new bike, that's what I'd run in it as well. And I did get a little bit of that sealer on the side of this tank. You won't be able to see it with standing up, but up in your teeth you can see it. I'll take some acetone on a rag, and that should take that sealer off. Okay, so we are dealing stock. There is no tuner on this bike at all. There's our main fuse, maxi fuse. All of our fuses look very corroded. So I'm gonna pull every fuse out, clean the pins off, spray some cleaner, some electronic cleaner up in here. Because if this is a curse bike, we haven't even started yet, but if it is a curse bike, probably got some electrical gremlins, and pulling a fuse out and seeing corrosion like that, like on a battery terminal, is bad. So I'm going to clean these up, clean these terminals out. Even if you didn't have electrical cleaner, take your brush or a pocket knife and scrape that off. Take a little pick and kind of clean those pins out too. Anything's better than what's in there now. Okay, I got all the fuses cleaned up. I put maybe 1.5 gallons in it. That code was for a low fuel, that B1004 code. I checked around. I can feel the coldness of the tank, so I know fuel's over there nice and dry. So let's see what we got. New plugs are in. Check the oil. We do have oil in it. Fire in the hole. It's going to take a bit for that pump to prime. We do have oil pressure. I do hear the pump pumping, and our gauge is working. Okay, she is indeed cursed. That is the roughest, poorest running fuel injection I have ever heard. Something has definitely gone wrong. And it did throw a code, so I'm excited about that. We can now see what that code is. You hear how it was. Now, all that vibrating, all that rattling was just stuff on the lift. I got the air cover over here. I got stuff everywhere. So that's what all that rattling was. But I don't know if you heard it or not, it would kind of kick in both cylinders, and then it's like one would go out. And then kick in both, and then one would go out. Then when I got on the throttle, it would backfire out of the breather here, which I don't have on. And so I'm thinking it's an ignition issue. So let's see what that code is. And I want to bring you in here so you can actually look at what I do this time. Okay, I got you sitting on the bike, so hopefully you can see. There won't be such a glare you can't see what's going on. Let me turn one of my lights around a little bit. Let me turn the other one around too. There, now you should be able to see what code we got. Okay, so our run switch is on. I'm going to hold the odometer in. It'll light up. I want to flip this over to ignition. It goes into diagnostics. So now we can let go. We can run through this. All right, so I got a P here. I'm going to hold in till it gets to the P. Okay, so there's one code. That's all. Okay. We'll hold it. No codes there. Speedometer. Okay, we've got a code there, but I believe that was for the low fuel. And for the T, okay, nothing there. Okay, so I'll go back here. We'll clear out this P. I'll hold it down when it's on the code. It'll say clear. I'll let go. I'll click it again. It'll clear. Now that one's gone, and I had one here, didn't I, on the speedometer? Okay. If that one kicks back up, it might be our fuel gauge. Our level over here is bad, so we'll clear that off too. All right, let me go look these codes up, and we'll see exactly what's going on. Okay, so that code is the rear cylinder code. And that's exactly why that plug looked the way it did when we took it out. So what's going on is that rear cylinder is not firing all the time. So what could cause that? Well, it's not the plug. We just changed the plug. It could be the plug wire. It could be the coil. Now, another thing that it could be is something wrong inside the tank as far as fuel pressure. So when the pressure gets low, maybe there's a pinhole. Now, we did replace this check valve and line, so we know that that line doesn't have a pinhole in it. On some model bikes with these early model check valves, the hose runs up and it rides against the top of this tank. And over the vibration and the years of riding, it'll actually rub a hole in that plastic line and you'll lose fuel pressure. Usually, when that happens, it'll throw a code for the rear and the front sometimes. But I'm only getting a code on the rear, nowhere else. But it is running like crap. It's running really bad. And the one thing when we were in here that I did not do was replace the fuel filter that's in this. So the fuel filter is actually in the tank. And with all that was in the tank before, I wonder if that fuel filter is clogged up. Now, why is it not throwing a code for the front as well? I don't know. But let's start it up and you're going to see this thing is not running right. I never could get the rear cylinder to cut out again. I did clear the code off. It does start up fine. It idles good. When I get on it, that's when the issues start. Okay, so the code did come back on, it went off. I guarantee you that's for the rear cylinder. Yes, rear cylinder code and nothing else. Our low fuel code went off, of course. It's not back on. Let me clear this rear cylinder code off. If you're down here by the pipes, that front cylinder is ticking away. The rear cylinder is not, and it'll backfire out of the rear, which tells me if it's backfiring out of the rear, there is fuel getting to the rear, it's just not firing. So we, I think, have a firing issue on this rear cylinder. Not necessarily anything in the tank, but when I did get on the throttle, it was just running really rough. So we'll probably go in here and change that filter out anyway, just to make sure. But we've got an issue here. I don't think that's caused by the fuel. So we'll check our plug here, our wire here. We'll pull this off. Our cap's on good. The wire looks good. The end cap looks good. This cap looks good as well. See if I can find me a new plug wire to go on there just to rule out the simple stuff. See if we can find a new coil. I did pull the connector off the coil. The pins look good. We'll probably just pull the coil off, test it, and see what it's ohming out at. Okay, so I found an old plug wire laying around. This is a little bit better kind of upgraded plug wire, even though it is kind of old. I've got to make sure that pops in there good. It's way too long, but that's okay. We're just experimenting because it's only that rear jug is the issue. So turn the key on. Check engine light. We did clear the code, so it'll come on and go off. Let's see how she runs. Sounds a lot better. See how she does under throttle. What? Are you kidding me? Was that all? Was that all? You gotta be kidding me. Oh. No more code so far. Okay, so bad plug wire. That's what was causing it to not run on the rear cylinder. However, it is still running absolutely like junk when you get in the throttle. Idle's good, but will not get on the throttle. So probably either bad or clogged injectors, or we have a fuel filter or pressure issue. We'll let this cool off. I'm gonna go eat a bacon sandwich and we'll see what this does. But we're making progress. We are uncursing the things. I'll look for the other set. This goes to the front. I'll look for the short one that goes back here, and maybe we can just, you know, use these. They're good. Whole lot better than this. So there's no tuner on it. Now, you can take it to Harley and they can remap it for those pipes, and that might have been done. I don't know. Then again, it might not have, and that's why it's running so terrible. Okay, before bacon sandwich time, I did find the shorter one, and now I know why I replaced these, because I had a crack and the customer taped it, so we got him some new wires. But it should work fine just to get us by till I can order some new wires. But I think I might have found the issue. So we got the rear cylinder firing now, no codes, that's great. But it's not getting the fuel it needs, and I think I found the issue. So what I want to do is put my ear on this tank, turn the pump on. I can hear the pump prime, but then I think I hear some gurgling and some spraying inside this tank. So when we get on the gas, it's not giving us enough pressure to keep up with the RPMs. It was plug wires. It was plug wires. That's all. That's all it was. Plug wires. I'm going to eat a bacon sandwich. I don't guess I heard it gurgling, because that had immediate throttle response and ran fine all the way to the top of the rev limiter. The curse was, of course, the tank issues we had to work through, broken odometer thing. But this, simple plug wires, what about that? You gotta believe me, because I'm saying it. That's what it was. I had one of my camera lights go out when I was talking about it, I think on live or something, and a subscriber sent me a new bulb and got it fixed. And I was talking about how, you know, I've got two lights that some subscribers sent me, and if I'm on this side of a bike, I have to set up and work, and then I got to move everything over to the other side if I go to the other side of the bike. They said, well, we can fix that. So now this is lit up like Mount Rushmore. I'm telling you, no lack of daylight in here now. So I'm so blessed to have such good subscribers and members of my channel that just see a need and feel a need. It's really, really nice, and I do appreciate it. On a side note, got this beautiful sports trend. I just come in for some new tires. Ain't that pretty? Man, somebody put some upgrades in that thing. Pretty bike. I hope we have kind of uncursed this bike. Now we can get to kind of the maintenance of it. I was doing some research on why it's a 5/8 right here. It should be. Oh, was not tight. Was doing some research on that rear cylinder not firing, and it appears that when you put a stage 1 on, which is a bigger air breather and bigger pipes, or just less restrictive pipes, meaning no baffles, and if you get this tuned, you have to, or it's best to go with the Screaming Eagle wires or something equivalent to that. Those plug wires were stock wires. And so I bet, it looks almost like brand new oil with only 3,000 miles. Yeah, that's what you get. And I've never seen primary plug so clean. Wow. That kind of tells you the condition of the clutches and everything in there. Man, this wind has been awful. That foam board hanging down sounds like grandma's screen door. So I bet when they installed those aftermarket pipes and put the big sucker air breather on, I bet you they did not upgrade. Well, I know they didn't upgrade those plug wires. So if you want any of these, they are on my Amazon store, which is a link down in the description of this video. And you can pick them up for yourself. I'm excited to use them, so let's go use them. Through the instructions, all these wrenches are angle wrenches. And I got them because when you do, Harley head bolts, you tighten it to a torque and then you go 90 degrees. Well, usually you'll make a mark on the head and on the bolt, but this is going to get me the proper angle. Same as like a LS engine, head bolts and things like that. You got to do angles. So this does angles as well. So the C is the power on button, and I went to push it and nothing happened. I read the instructions. Daggum, this thing takes batteries, 2 AA's. So I've got to go find 2 AA's. Hot side in first. Had to go borrow my son's batteries to his Oculus. The drain plugs are anywhere from 14 to 21 foot-pounds, so I'll go down to 20. This also has a vibration and a beep when you get to where you need. Let me get my old torque wrench and see how that compares. All right, there's 20 on my old torque wrench. Oh, that's so nice. Boy, when it starts vibrating and beeping, you better stop because that almost went a whole pound tighter. That's why I always try to go a little bit under the top end there. I think I hold that and it turns it off. Yeah, these are so awesome. I do not use synthetic in primaries. Any nice clutch pack that you get will tell you do not use synthetic oil because it will make your clutch slip. Now there may be some manufacturers of clutch packs that say, yeah, use synthetic. All right, and I want that to come up just to the bottom there. Now while these O-rings might look good, once you take them off, you will see that they have some flatness in them. Now you can go back with this style. I don't necessarily care for it. What I like instead is the James gasket that sits on the outside of this. And it's got like a double kind of layer. I like that a whole lot better, and it sits flatter on this instead of just a single thin barrier all the way around. And it seals up around your holes here too, where this does not. So I kind of like these a lot better. I kind of buy them in a 10 pack and keep them around here. To me, they just work a lot better. So we did have a little bit of an oil leak, it looks like. Now before we do that, these threads are terrible on these. Got a lot of goop on them, some oil. Again, that little O-ring that runs around the inside does not keep oil from coming out of your threads here. So that's why I like that James better. But if you don't have a thread cleaner or anything like that, take you some strippers, some wire strippers, and very gently put it on the biggest one, and you can actually just put a little bit of pressure on there, and you can actually run this in. You can actually just put a little pressure on there and run this in, and it will clean those threads up really nice. And I wouldn't use a gun or anything on it like that, because you could apply a little bit too much pressure trying to hold that bolt in and booger your threads up. I've always used these. You can adjust them for any size bolt you need pretty much, and they do a fabulous job of cleaning up that thread. See all the goop there that come off that thread, all that Loctite and everything. A lot cleaner, a lot better thread now. So the torque spec on the derby cover on this model is 84 to 108 inch-pounds. So I want to go to 100. All right. I like these. That vibrating in the handle is really nice. I am so happy with that. We had a live the other night, and I mentioned tools, and people started sending in donations, and so I bought these tools from that. And I put a little bit with it, so that was awesome. So thank you guys so much. These are so nice. All right, we got our new air filter on. It came in today as well with my torque wrenches. Just ready to go with the cover. I got the red, it's pre-oiled. I did go ahead and put the seat on. That bolt was really long, but it's because it didn't have this luggage rack. So once I put the luggage rack back on, the bolt does not protrude out of the bottom. It looks like the very tip of where that little clip goes was not there, but I don't know if these were made with those or not, because you've got plenty of room to run up under here and get that out if you needed to. The wheel's not even off the ground, so that's kind of how it sets. And then the luggage rack just bolts right here on your license plate bracket. So that's on there and then goes into the bolt hole there for your fender for your seat. All right, so I'm taking the filter off here. I just disconnected this to kind of have a little more space to work. I always like to take out my crank position sensor when I do these oil filters. You can get them out without this, but I like to take the sensor out, clean it up real good, see the condition of it, see if there's any kind of, metal shards on there, because it is magnetic at the end. I don't expect to see anything with this only being a 3,000 mile bike, but it never hurts to check. And it'll give us more room to get that filter off. 3/16 here. And you usually need to use a little flat head or your pocket knife and just kind of get up in there and wiggle and push up, move this back and forth. This will come up for you. Look at that. Cleanest one I've ever seen there. No metal debris at all. Looks like a brand new one. So we'll just leave this hanging down here. So I had a lady at church give me a whole bunch of manila folders. Stick that up under there. Get it to the back. Got a little Harley oil filter. I'll put this on my Amazon store as well. Alright, we got a new Wix 57-14-8. Get a little bit of oil. The oil looks really good. I like to get back in here and clean the lip of this oil housing off. Now with the Wix, these won't work. So we'll just have to tighten it by hand. If we want to give a little more ooga boogas, we can do that with this. There we go. That ratchet strap has never failed me. Never. We'll pop that back down in there and make sure that gasket, that O-ring sets on there good. As long as this bolt is, there's really no need to thread lock it. On that sensor, there'll be a metal ring inside where the bolt goes, so you can get it down and snug and not have to worry about breaking that plastic around the bolt. I'll put a little blue here on our thread for our shift lever. Run that back through. It takes a washer and a acorn nut. And then that's a 1/2 inch acorn nut and a 3/8 on the back here. You want that to be pretty snug. You don't want that coming off on you going down the road. I like to put about 2 quarts in the motor oil, start it up, let it circulate, and go back and add 3/4 of a quart, 3 quarts. I'd rather have a bike on the Harleys, especially the ones that breathe back into the air, a little bit lower and certainly not overfilled. If it's overfilled, that oil has to go somewhere. It'll puke it out of your air cleaner and you'll get oil dripping out of your air cleaner. You're like, what's going on? My bike's tore up. No, it's just overfilled with oil. That's all. Well, I tell you what, it's nice not having to move lights around. Just grab the camera and move it. All right, we're going to drop the engine oil. It's a 5/8 plug. Now on this oil pan, there's 2 plugs. There's a plug that faces directly down on the right side of the bike. That's your transmission plug. There's a plug that faces to the side, left-hand side of your bike. That's the oil drain plug. The oil drain plug on this Dyna, if you move the kickstand back, it is right behind this rubber stop here, and it points this way. Oh, okay, that was not tight at all either. Good night. I do have the oil cap off on the other side, so it should drain pretty quick. Oh yeah, very nice. Again, very, very little trash on that plug. Now with the bike on the center stand, you're not going to get all the oil out of the bottom of the pan. The reason the plug's in the side is designed to change the oil on the side stand. So you're going to have just a little bit of oil in there as well. But remember, you've got oil up in your engine and everywhere else also. That's why I never just throw 3 quarts in. It'll almost always overfill it. Now while this is draining, you can go ahead and drain your transmission plug as well. Pop it out. Same plug as the primary and this engine oil plug. Same thing. New O-ring, new tape. Transmission will get, I think, just shy of a quart. I usually put about 1/2 quart, a little bit more. Let it go down in all the gears, maybe even start it up, let it settle back down, check the dipstick, and fill accordingly. It usually works out to be about just shy of a quart. Definitely needs a good cleaning, doesn't it? So I've got this little 1/4 inch. It's a little bit more narrow here. 14 to 21. I usually try to split the difference. And it's pretty neat when you boot this back up. It's still got the last torque that you set on it, so that's pretty nice. I'm really happy with these. What batteries do y'all use? Energizers, Duracells, Dollar Store, Dollar Tree. All right, so I put just shy of a quart in the transmission, and I only put 2 quarts in the engine oil. The reason for that is that it even says on the dipstick, check when hot, and on the Jiffy stand, which is I call a kickstand. So I got 2 quarts in there. We're going to knock these forks out real quick. Then we can take this bike down the road and see how it does. I'm going to put a little bit more fuel in there. Then when we get back and it's on the side stand, the kickstand, the Jiffy stand, then we can check the oil and top it off or leave it alone. It's going to be a nice bike. Enjoy some music while I knock these forks out, and also just a little appreciation to all of our paying members. We'll scroll through those as well. we got her done. We got the forks done. So hope you enjoyed the music, and thank you to all of our paying members as well. A couple things about the forks. Good night. Those wide glide forks. The drain plug, that's the Allen head that you have to have the extension to get up in the side with the brake caliper. You know, they're mostly 6mm Allen sockets, so I went and got my 6. It didn't fit. Went and got my 7. Nope. 8. Nope. 9. Nope. Good grief. 12 millimeter head on those bolts. So I did the right thing and just grabbed my Allen socket, the big ones that I bought at TSC, and just cut this off. Smooth down the edges, put a 12mm socket over that, worked great. Had to get the old impact, the big 1/2-inch impact, to get them dudes off. They're not torqued too much. I did not have the right exhaust pipe for the fork seals, so I had to run to the store and pick one up. This is a stainless steel 18-inch tailpipe extension, 2 1/4-inch inner diameter. So it's got a bigger end and a smaller end. I took the seal with me, and the smaller end fits on here great. The bigger end I really didn't ever use. And this worked great, as you might have saw very quickly. To put those little chrome covers back on, I used that. It took quite a bit of fluid, almost 27 ounces per fork of fluid. But the way you measure it is with a depth finder, which I love this thing. I use this thing all the time. It's got inches, it's got centimeters, millimeters. So I just ran this down. I think on these forks it was 4.4 inches down. So you stick this down in the tube without the spring and the washer, so just the piston in it, and you fill it up until it touches the bottom or gets pretty close to the bottom. The important thing is you want the same amount of fluid in both forks, so you have the same amount of pressure. When set the depths of the forks up in the triple trees, it is, I believe, a 1/2 inch from the top of the tube nut, or actually it's a bolt, to the bottom of the triple tree on the inside. Measure the outside, it might be a little off, but just get them both the same, you'll be good. These things, these chrome cover caps on the, I hate these things. I hate them. They get road grime on them. These always get seized. Somebody over tightens them. They always strip out. I hate these things. These are about as useful as the G in lasagna. You know what I'm saying? Useless. Broke my T10 trying to get one of them out. Had to just, pry it and beat it off. So, useless. I know they look pretty, but just don't. Torque wrenches. These AC Delco digital torque wrenches, angle torque wrenches as well, worked great. I was able to use all 3 of them, and they worked awesome. So highly recommend these, and they weren't that bad. I think I picked up all 3 for maybe under $400, and they're great. I went and picked up some good Duracell batteries and threw in there. I did flush the brake fluid, which the brake fluid looked great. I checked the tires, I checked the brakes. The tires, don't look at the date code. They are original tires, but they look great. There's no crack, dry rotting. I know that rubber gets hard tires get hard over the years. I think past about 8 years, you want to change them. But a lot of folks that are looking for original and low mileage bikes, they want the stock wheels that came with it, and these have it. So I'm just going to leave them on for the next customer, but let them know, hey, if you plan on riding this, if you're storing it just for a show bike because you've wanted a 06 Dyna, the first really good year of the Dyna, I think, with the 6-speed and the cam chain tensioners and the twin cam, there's your bike. The battery cover is not in yet. It should be in here in a couple of days, but I think we're ready to throw a little bit more gas in it and to go down the road and see how it does. So y'all come along with me. Okay, well that went smashingly terrible. Terrible. Rode awful. It felt like when you're riding a carbureted bike and it's running out of gas, or a jet's clogging up, or you get trash in it. Sounded like it was running out of fuel. So I come back up here. It was throwing codes left and right. I think it threw 5 codes. Low O2 sensor reading on the rear. That's what it was throwing before. Low O2 on the front. Ah, that's new. ECM, it'll set up here in idle. It'll rev. When I get on it and put it in gear and it's pushing my butt around, it acts like it's just dying. Let's pull the guts out of the tank. I want to leave the tank on. I'm going to leave the bike off the lift. Let's just get our peepers up in there. I'm leaving everything connected. It's very dangerous doing that, so be very careful. Dealing with a lot of electronics. But let's just set the console aside. Let's remove that tank shell so we can just kind of look down in there. The good thing about the Dyna tanks is you got a lot of room there. A big hole in the top of the tank to look down in. That right back there. That's what we want to watch. Okay, so I popped the pin out of the fuel pump, or out of the filter. Look at that. Just straight up mud out of that filter. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I don't think much fuel is going to get through that at all. I think we found our problem. I should have done this while I had all this out. My sock is still good, but my filter was awful, awful. So let's run to the parts store, grab another filter. That could be our issue right there. I would almost guarantee it. Look at that. With only 3,000 miles on the bike. Yikes, it's just mud. It's just like mud. Alright, I got our new filter here. Yikes. I don't know if that's our issue or not, but good grief. Sure wouldn't hurt, would it? So we'll set that down on there. And then our O-ring is already oiled up. It'll go right over this lip here. And then we'll smush that in. And then we have our metal clip here. There we go. And then once you get it started, it's got to go through these bottom holes down here. There we go. And then this little clip here will keep that pin from coming back out. Whew. All right, our new filter is in. All right, let's put this in, put our float back in, hook everything up, start it up, see how it does. I did take this regulator off. The gasket was good. There's a little screen back here. I sprayed it out as well. It was not bad. So this filter evidently caught all that trash. So it did a good job, but it was not letting the proper fuel flow go through. Hopefully that's the fix. Got everything hooked back up. Here's our moment of truth. I don't have this snapped in yet, but not it, guys. Well, it's still cursed, but that pump sounds a whole lot better. I don't hear any fuel squirting out of that regulator. There was so much pressure in there Before, fuel would just squirt out that regulator bypass. But now, I don't hear any of that at all. But it's still running like poo. Okay, we're just going to have to leave it cursed for right now until we meet again on this bike, because it's Thursday evening and I don't want to miss a Friday video, and this video is probably already an hour and a half long. We did fix a lot of things. This pump sounds a whole lot better now. It was really gurgling and sputtering and inside the tank before, and there's just no fuel getting through that filter, so that's good. It does sound better, so I know it's getting the fuel now. Now, could it be injector? Injector's clogged because of all the things we found, fuel related. Could be. Could it be the coil? We need to pull it and test it. Could be that. Could it be a bad ECM? Could be. Could it not even have been tuned when they put the pipes and the air sucker on it? Could be. So there's a lot still we got to figure out on this. I was hoping we would uncurse it this time, this week, and I was hoping we'd be able to say, hey, it's for sale. That would have been really good, but I cannot sell it like this. The front forks feel awesome going down the road. Everything else we did, there's no more leaks on the fuel tank, feels great. We got the tank clean and sealed. We got a new filter in it. The fuel gauge, the new fuel gauge is working. We just got to get this thing to run right. You guys clack it down in the comments. Let me know. Where do we go next? What direction? Is it timing? Do we need to get a new crank sensor? Do we need to look at, pull the cam cover and look at the timing of the gears and the cams? I mean, it starts up fine, so I don't think it's a timing issue. It's just, oh man, give me the days of carburetors and simple electronics. But I'm not going to let it whoop us. We're going to get it. We're going to fix it, you and I. So there will be a part 3. Thank you guys so much for helping me out, hanging out for now probably over an hour and a half. We're getting there, and it's going to be a really good bike, but there's no way I can give this bike and put it for sale the way it is. We have got to get it running good. And with only 3,000 miles, guys, it's a brand new bike. It rode really good suspension wise. It just had no power. And I come up here, I put the thermostat laser thing. This was up to operating temperature. This was cold. But it was throwing codes for both. Well, I think next time we have this in a video, we're going to start with ignition. We're going to go through everything ignition wise. I don't think it's fuel related. Can we pull the fuel injection off? Yes, we can, but I just don't think it's that. I think it's got to be timing. It's got to be ignition. Because sometimes, the last time we had it on the lift and we changed the plug wires out, it ran great. It revved awesome. Now, this time, it won't. Today, it won't. So, I don't think it's injectors because it was throwing for both, and the last time it wasn't throwing for the front. I've got Doodle Sportster back on the lift. All the parts are in. You'll see that next Friday, and then you'll probably see this back the Friday after that. So that's just how it goes sometimes. If you didn't have any bad moments, you wouldn't know really how to appreciate the good moments. So you gotta, have your glass half full, over full, whatever the phrase is. Thank you guys so much, and tell your mama now I said hi. Still cursed. Why are you cursed? Talk to me. Talk to me.